Yeah, I just want to speak about something that's happened to me. Um, where do I start? I'm fat. You can see I'm fat. I'm overweight. Um, it's because I eat too much food. Uh, Obviously, there's no excuse. I'm fat. I've put all this weight on. It's my responsibility. I'm not going to come out with all the I'm making this right. I'm doing this. I'm changing that and whatnot. I'm still fat. I have lost weight, believe it or not. I've lost 5 stone. I was 28 stone. I'm now 21 stone. So, well, that's more than 5 stone, isn't it? So, it is coming off me. But that's still not a good thing. I'm still fat. And I just want to speak about something. Um, about half an hour ago, this camera's a bit strange, isn't it? Yeah, about half an hour ago, uh, about half an hour ago, I was listening to. I'm saying all this the wrong way around, right? Every day, what I do since 2011, this isn't making pretense, because I'm always afraid to admit what I've been doing in my life. Um, I don't see why I should be afraid. But I do need to say something first before I go into that. If the way I was brought up, the family I was brought up in, the way sorry, I'm touching the table. The family I was brought up in didn't have a religious outlook at all. Nothing. Neither atheist or neither religious. It was just sort of, and this is quite a lot of British families, to be honest. They didn't really have anything to tell me about um, things in life. Now, this isn't the reason I'm fat either. I'm not going to say because of that I'm fat. No. Like I say, I'm fat because I eat. Because I eat too much food. I eat the wrong foods. Right. I've got a cat who's all of a sudden trying to get my attention. Right. So I I've covered all this in another video, but not what I'm about to speak about in a moment. But I've got to recap something before I get to that. As I was growing up, I had questions, and there was nobody to answer them. I'm 45 now, so when I was growing up, there was no internet. But I did have these questions. My family didn't really have an answer for me. I had a burning desire to know what was happening in my life. I was being abused. Right, I'll get that out of the way. I was being abused from round about 8-year-old to about 12, I think. And I had no idea at all what that was about. I really didn't have a clue. I wouldn't have known how to put it into words to ask for help if I'd have realised I was being abused. I didn't know what abuse was. There was no terms being chucked around such as grooming, things like that. I thought I was lucky to have this person in my life. I remember that. I didn't really know to know something's wrong. All you basically need is to feel like it's wrong. And I'll be honest, it didn't feel like it was wrong at the time. I was too young to really grasp what was happening. It's the best way I can explain it. Anyway, like I said, this went on for 12 years, till I was about 12ish. At that time, when I was 12, I never came out and said anything about it still. It was just I lost contact with this person until I was 16, until I realised what was happening. I was able to do a little bit more, something about it then. But anyway, that's not the point of what I'm trying to talk about here. But I do really need to say this as well. When this was happening, when I was about 8, like I say, I also remember a lot of other things were happening within my mind. I think, right, if there is a spiritual realm, if there is a God, if there is a Jesus, right, which I hate saying if because I know there is, from my point of view, right, because I'm getting all confused, right. So if you to believe, if you to hold judgment for 1 second and imagine just what it would be like if there was a God and Jesus and whatnot, okay? I believe that around about 8-year-old, when all this abuse was happening, um, I was also trying. There was help coming from somewhere, trying to get me to see what was happening. I would ask questions from people because I would have a burning desire to understand something. Now that I look back on it with an adult mind, I realised that it was all trying to wake me up, get me to understand what was happening, ask the right questions, and whatnot. And one of them questions was, uh, why am I like I am? Why can't why can't I be like him? Why can't I be like them? Um, so I was putting weight on, like I say, from about 8-year-old onwards, and I realised that I came to the conclusion it was my weight. I was different, quiet, and not really nice to be around, to be honest, at that age. I was like that because of my weight. But then that would all come tumbling down when I'd see somebody else who was probably even fatter than me, who was doing much better in life and was the centre of a big circle of friends, and I'd think so I'd have to go back to square one then. And I never really got an answer. I remember my grandma at the time tried to explain something to me about what happens, because I asked, I think I mentioned something along the lines of something to do with a spiritual question. I can't even remember what the words were, but as a child it would have been something like, you know, what is Jesus, Grandma? Something like that. But I was really asking for information, but my grandma just gave me some story about how when we die, we leave our shell behind. I was really young, and I thought she meant an eggshell. Plus, Mork and Mindy was on at the time, and Mork and Mindy started with him coming out of an egg. So I couldn't figure out how to ask what that meant. So in my mind, I thought she was talking about we left some sort of shell behind that I still didn't understand. Shell meaning body now, I realise that. But something goes to heaven, and whatever heaven was, I didn't know. And so I was confused, really confused. And the more confused I got, the more angry I got at myself, frustrated I got. I didn't understand what all these weird sexual feelings were about people. I didn't want to be around my granddad. My granddad was the closest thing I had to a dad. I didn't want to be around him because I thought he would be, at some point, he would see me the same way as this guy who was abusing me would see me, and he never did. My granddad never did do anything like that, obviously, but to me, I thought that was the only way people would like me, because this person who was abusing me liked me. So I thought at the time, and two and two together, you think to yourself, it's because of what's happening. So for people to like me, that has to happen. So I thought I was in the wrong somehow because people didn't like me and things like that. I didn't realise it was because I was coming across as I was the little fat kid. I didn't realise it was all that. I didn't understand. You know, as a young kid, you don't understand how to put things into context here. Anyway, so right, so yeah, something was calling out to me as a young kid to try and help me out of this situation, and I was putting up barriers of all sorts. So my life just carried on the way it went, and I was getting frustrated. I never really got to the point where I asked for help in the right way. So, zoom forward. Uh, when I was about 16, I think, I turned away from God and any possibility of anything at all then. I just didn't believe it. and it fit my mindset even more. Um, then it fit my mindset because if I was to believe in God, then it would mean I was gonna have to. I was gonna have to at some point say I'm not a nice person. So I at the time I thought to myself, it doesn't matter. I don't care because there is no such thing. So I'll just carry on being this ugly, horrible person, and I'll never have to own up to it. They weren't the words I was thinking. It was easier, more comfortable to think of the world I lived in, than the world that was actually real. That I realise now that was really out there. That there was. Anyway, so zoom forward again, 2011, just a few years ago. Um, I won't bore you with the details. I was born again. I'd gone through a long journey, and obviously I was older, and I realised from my own opinions, my own reasoning, I realised that there was something. No, it wasn't 2011 I was born again. Sorry, 2011 I was introduced to God properly again, but he came to me from a funny angle this time. I had more understanding of things, and he wouldn't let go. That's the one thing. Throughout the whole of my life, when I put this barrier up saying nothing's real, he wouldn't stop trying. And it's so amazing. I was this horrible person, quiet, didn't want to know anybody or anything like that, had no friends because I didn't want them, I would push them all away. And the whole time he was there. You know, if you don't like me saying he, if you don't like thinking of it as being a him, the universe was there. Is that better? Or the higher thing was there the whole time. He was there, um, watching out for me, waiting till I was ready for me to come back and ask for help, because I wasn't going to get any help. I wasn't going to progress in life without asking for help. So anyway, so 2011 came along, and I started out of the blue, 24/7 almost, using the internet. I was finding out what 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 the universe was about. I started really basic. I just wanted to know. I remember I started thinking, dark matter. Dark matter must be something to do with the spiritual universe, I thought to myself. And that led me on and on and on and on. And I was being led, you know? I was being led because I was opening it up. I was opening it up. I know this is nothing to do with religion, but it was God's angle to get me in the right place. And I realised as I was going along, it was because I wanted to know. I wanted to find that one thing, the golden nugget of knowledge that would either prove to me, nobody else, prove to me there is more or there isn't. And I thought, I'm going to find it. I couldn't stop looking, no matter what I did. I couldn't stop looking. I looked everywhere on the internet, and it was all over the place. The internet's an amazing thing, amazing tool, and God uses the internet in so many ways. Anyway, he was helping me find the proof I needed, because he realised faith alone wouldn't do it. I was too stubborn. I needed to see something. And I didn't just see something, I saw the proof I needed. I found out that the universe is designed. I found out the right things. Then I got to near-death experiences, and everybody saying, you know, the scientists saying, no, it's just something to do with the brain going a bit pear-shaped when somebody's dying. So obviously you think to yourself, well, that could or that might not be true. That's not an answer in itself, until you realise that people all around the world, people who don't even know what near-death experiences is, even way back in the 70s when they were having them, every near-death experience has common aspects. So you think, wow, hang on, there's something. Every near-death experience has this light. Every near-death experience has this presence. And every near-death experience I've ever heard of, the people who've come back have at some point during their experience been told by either a body or a voice or something, being told, now's not your time, you're going back. And I'm thinking to myself, well, the scientific idea behind this, that it's just something to do with the chemical reaction within the brain, it doesn't stand up to all this. If it was a chemical reaction within the brain, why is it that everybody has these common aspects to their experiences? There was that gave me, that pole vaulted me, almost 100% proved to me that there was something larger out there than me, if that's possible, you know, a higher entity. So then I could move forward again. I was being led. Once I got to that stage of being led, then I thought to myself, right, so, no, I didn't think to myself, I keep saying I thought to myself, no, I was shown, the next thing I was shown was, the moment I realised on that level that there was something going on with near-death experiences, I was shown that, therefore, that if there's somebody out there, if there's something out there, there must be some sort of signature within the universe. And I don't mean a signature. There must be some sort of proof of a design. You know, an artist leaves his signature, doesn't he? An architect leaves his style within the buildings he creates, specific to him. Obviously the deeds are somewhere, but and you could call them DNA. But you know, everything that is created by a mind has a signature. You know, everything that's created by randomness has random chaotic aspects to it. Nothing ever came from dropping sand out of a bucket for a million years. You know, you can't create a rocket engine from sand, can you? But that's what science wants you to believe, because they don't want to face the fact that it's possible that there's a creator out there. They don't want that, because if they do that, then that starts making them think there's something bigger, so that they can't rely on themselves and say that we're God, sort of thing. You know, which is all counterproductive, because if they say that, if we're God, then that proves that we're beings and that we're creating. So it's like saying, you know, if there's no God, how come you're saying that we're gods to our own world? You know what I mean? So it all started falling into place, and I realised how nasty of a person I'd been to this creator. The moment I realised there was a creator, you know, that the design within the human body is so complex. You know, just a hair follicle, just the human eye. Oh wow, you know, the way things are placed. You know, the way the cells work, the way the eye, shape of the eye has to be a specific way, or it wouldn't. This is just the human eye. That's nothing. The cell. If you were to scale up this one of our cells to the size of a natural object, do you know how much it would, how big it would be with all the little mechanisms going on inside? It would be as big as the city of New York, with all this stuff going on inside of the cell, and everything is much more complex than what's going in New York. Every little thing happening in the cell has to be doing a specific thing every time, or the whole cell just breaks apart and stops functioning. And this is with every cell, in every animal, every human. Every little machine has to have this relay effect, doing its little job, passing on whatever it does to the next thing. Anyway, so that proved to me, anyway, so people shouting out at some point watching this, you know, there's no God and everything, that's fine, you can say that. You know, I found out for me, and I found out what I needed to find out, that there is a God. So zoom forward again. After I got to that stage, I realised there was no way I could ever turn my back on the higher reality, higher realm, the higher being, when I realised that, then he came full force at me, God, and he said, not in words. He said, right then, so therefore, if there's a creator, then that means the Bible and all the religious things need to be taken into stock here. You need to look at something. Find a religion, find a belief. And I realised I had to, because there was no way around it. If I'd found God, so I had to have a belief within there. So I tried everything for a year. So I tried the Celtic religion, the Wiccan religion. I tried it all. None of it was fitting right for me. So then I started praying. I went into, just giving it a go, Christianity, and then something happened. I started getting things happening around me, answers, and this strange feeling. That's the best way I can describe it. A strange feeling of accomplishment that I wasn't getting from anything else. And I realised this feeling was sort of like a feeling I had when I was younger, really young. A feeling of almost like a homely feeling, like, hello, you've had your back turned to me for so long. Come back into the warmth. It was like a warm feeling, like a cuddle, And this would come fleetingly at first, because I didn't know how to accept these things going on. Anyway, so as we do as humans, when we discover something, there's a subconscious aspect, isn't there, where it carries on getting us into the right angle. And obviously there was God as well, lining things up for me in the future so that I would carry on exploring and finding the right way. That led me to October last year. See, July before that, I lost my wife. Well, I call her my wife because we were almost married. We were going to get married, and I lost her in July. So my life from July last year, I know you're probably wondering why I'm not exploring everything. It's been a year now, so I'm starting to get hold of things a bit better. But it's been the worst year of my life. Obviously, when you lose somebody you love. And it all clicked to me then. I thought, God, you've been God, not as in, oh God, no. God has been lining me up, getting me prepared for this, because he hasn't given up on me. And if I pursued the negative side, he would have obviously not been able to get through. But I was at a stage in my life where I was listening more. He was preparing me. I had several dreams, a month to a few weeks before my Cassie passed, of things happening. And what took her away from me was pulmonary embolism. It was in her leg, and she was at the doctor's, and she was at the hospital. And a day or two before she went, the doctor had actually told her that the guy at the hospital had a tendency to overreact, because somebody had noticed something to do with her lungs, and he wouldn't take it any further. So the day she went, she was poorly, she was tired, and she'd been to the hospital and they hadn't found anything. And she went to the doctors on the very last day, and he sent her away. He said, you're gonna have to stop coming to the doctors, because I've got people who need treatment, who've got cancer. That was the last thing she told me. And when she came home, obviously I could see, it was minutes before she went, I could see she was poorly. So we got the ambulance straight in, and they got her into the ambulance, and she passed away in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. Yes, it's really sad. It is really sad. But anyway, from that day onwards, I've been growing. God's been there for me. God's been the thing that's been there for me. My family, I've got a son, and he's been fantastic. But obviously, I'd lost my soulmate, so I once we got through it. I was physically in a worse state than I am now. I wasn't able to walk. I had a problem with my legs. That's gone now, by the way. I had I had all sorts of things wrong with me. I had no reason to stay around except a few days after Cassie had gone. I got straight on the bandwagon with God and I started asking for help. Look, if you want me to stay around, God, I'm going to need help here. And oh, did he help me? He's not let up one day since then. Every day, he cracks me open like a nut. Like a nut, he cracks me open. And inside of me, emotionally, is a mess, obviously. And God is repairing me every day. Do you know that? He's making me into a new person. And the first few months after losing my Cassie were a nightmare, absolute nightmare. And God was trying to keep me comfortable, his best, and he would also have to give me reality. And some fantastic things happened. I had connections happening nearly every day. I would go through depression like you won't believe. End of the world depression, from the point of view. And I'll get to that point where he would say, is this as good as it's going to get? What's the point? And I'll be on the brink of giving up again, and then God would say, well, when I say, he wouldn't just pop into the room and say, like this. No. There's more ways of communicating than just words. He would communicate to me with a coincidence. And out of the blue, after about a month of losing my Cassie, the first month, I don't know what happened, but this TV program would be on the telly to the point I noticed it. I don't know how it got turned over to it or anything. And it's a religious channel I didn't even really know it existed. I think I passed it at some point on the remote control in the past, but people out there will know what I mean when I'm saying this. Anything religious, you would just turn it over, wouldn't you? You wouldn't even hear it, like songs of praise. Who stays on that channel? Unless you are like me, you've been born again and you realise you've got to the stage. But before that, I was totally devoid to it. It wouldn't register. But now it was this channel carried on cropping up. And I realised, I'm reaching out to God and God's helping me here, and I'm on the edge of a razor here. I can fall at any time. I realised he was coming at me from all angles, trying to get me to stay, because I was going to go. I had the tool. I made a tool to do something to myself. I had it ready. I'd researched even how to do it without the least pain, because I'm a coward. I wanted to do it, and I researched other people who've gone before me, Robin Williams, things like that, Robin Williams, how he'd done it, and I was going to do it the same way. It seemed very easy. And he wouldn't let me go. God wouldn't let me go. I got to the point, I think it was about 2 or 3 months after I'd gone, where I'd had about 4 days of pain, and I thought, so God's letting this happen to me. This pain, I mean, it was terrific pain, you can imagine. I now know what the pain's about. I'll get to that in a second. And I went to the beach, and I thought, I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to have a thing. Go to the shop, get something for my tea, come back home, and if things are not right, I'm going tonight. And I went to the beach, and I sat on this chair, a stool, and this was the first time this thing happened to me. I sat on the chair, and there wasn't many people around. I looked around, and I felt this welling up again. I just burst into tears. And I kept it low key so nobody would come across and say, you okay, you okay? I wanted to just be left alone. I sat there and I said, God, if you're out there, and I'm looking at the sea moving, I'm thinking, if you're out there, you've got to help me right now. No messing around. You've got to help me because I'm losing faith again. And if things are not right tonight, I've decided I'm going to go. I dried my eyes, and then there was this moment where, like we have, where say maybe we've had a drink of tea, and we have this moment of absence, don't we? Where I don't know if you know what I mean. A moment of absence where your mind wanders. They call it daydreaming or whatnot. And that happened. I wiped my eyes. A bit of a moment happened where a moment between the pain and then sort of like going, take your stock again. And in that moment, it was like I was a new person. It was like I was a new person. I looked back to the moment before and I thought, what's happened? And this new person feeling was like I'd just been given happiness in a wrapper. I felt like I was on, oh wow, I felt like I couldn't explain it. It was overwhelming. It was like when I was a kid and something happened at Christmas. It felt amazing and I wanted to laugh. And I thought, don't, because people are going to look. And I looked at the sea and the sea was amazing. It was beautiful. And the smell from nowhere that was there already. I never realised where it come from, the smell of the sea. And the air hitting against me and I felt like everything was beautiful in the sky. And I went, how blue are you? And it wasn't even blue enough, I think. So I thought, what's this? Where's this come from? I was so confused. I couldn't comprehend what this feeling was. I later found out, because I'm going to skip ahead because I don't want to keep you all too long. I later found out this was being born again. I never understood what being born again meant until this moment. And even then, I'd been born again. And I'd heard, later when I realised I'd been born again, I'd heard that once you're born again, that's it. No. Something changes deep down in your soul. Yes, that's true. God changes you. But on a physical level, your problems are still there. You've got these layers and layers of problems. Imagine somebody laying down dirt on your soul. It's all still there, and it all still creeps back in. But you've been opened up to accept a gift within us that in the Bible, right? I know a lot of you probably don't want to hear the word Bible or Jesus or God, but I was trying to relate this to myself, okay? So the Bible said in there about this thing that happened when Jesus died on the cross, as we've all heard of. I used to hear this story about Jesus died for us all. Why would he die for us all? Then I looked into it more as I went along and found out that before Jesus died for us, sin, things that were wrong with us, the stuff that was laid on my heart that was making me ill, couldn't be discarded. The only way we could discard things like that was by not creating them in the first place. So we all had to live to a certain, we had to be perfect in God's eyes. If we weren't, we developed sin, which we all did. Even if you look at somebody the wrong way, that's a sin. If you, obviously there's the things you know about. If you have sex before marriage, that's a sin. Things like that, but people were doing this all the time. Even as a baby, you're creating sin. So Jesus had to be sent because God realized he had to update the universe, because nobody was going to get into heaven like this, were they? So Jesus came along as a human being. Jesus was God, is God, and he demoted himself to a physical state. He was still up there, but he also demoted himself, sort of like us. We have a soul, but then we have this encasing of the flesh, so that we can relate to the world around us and do whatever our mission is, yeah? I think we all, even atheists will say that we have a purpose within the world, even if it's a purpose for ourselves. As an atheist, you'll think, no, my purpose is to me, I do everything for me. It's still a purpose. Your purpose is yourself. So we're held back, aren't we, with gravity. because of this physical body. We're held back because of our ever-growing body, our ever-growing physical attributes. We become less attractive as we get older. We can get hurt, we can die, which we will die, all of us. All these horrible things have been introduced to this perfect middle section of ourselves, the soul. So God was obviously getting it wrong. He realized that, and he sent Jesus down, a physical aspect of himself, his son. And our son is a physical aspect of ourselves, isn't he? Or daughter. So the son came down to live amongst us, to figure out what repairs, what things needed to be done to the spiritual realm and humanity, to allow people into heaven, because people just weren't making the cut. The slightest sin, you're out of there. It was like that. So Jesus realized in his short time on earth, he came to the point that nobody's ever going to get into heaven, even if he stood there and stamped his feet every day of his life and said, look, be a better person, do everything right in life, and you will get into heaven, I promise you. Nobody was listening. So he realized he had to do away with sin altogether. Yeah? Do away with it altogether. What does that mean? How come we all still hurt? How come we all still do bad things? Because we can still sin. We can still do bad things. We can still murder. We can still be abused like myself. We can still put weight on and be gluttony. Gluttony is a sin. We can still do all these bad things in life, and they can still be laid up on our soul like before. But Jesus said, all you have to do is ask, in other words, pray, in the right way. Ask in the right way. What's the right way? See, I'm getting to this. So Jesus said you have to pray in the right way, therefore believing in me. So what's the point in praying if you don't believe in Jesus? It won't work, will it? Believing in me, the moment that happens, ask for all your sin to be taken away. Ask for forgiveness, and you will be reborn. Totally sin-free. You can still develop sin from that point. Everything, right back to my childhood, had gone in that moment at the beach. Gone. All the pain had gone from my soul. Jesus has said, right, off with you. Get out of there. The devil, the demons, whatever you want to call them, the negative energy, from a spiritualist type of view, the negative energy, whatever it is, we all feel bad things in the soul, don't we? The heavy weight. God got rid of it, and I felt like I was amazing. Oh, I felt amazing. Talk about high. I was high on life for about 2 weeks. Nobody could touch me. I was saying hello to people on the street, and I thought, there's a physiological change here. Slowly over time, things started creeping back in. My mind for some reason was fighting me again, and it started creeping back in after about 2 weeks. I started going down again, so that hurt me. I thought, what was the point of all that then? What must have been a fluke? And slowly it started creeping back in, you see, and the Bible describes this as an enemy, a jealous side of nature. A jealous side of nature wants us to carry on failing. So I was layering up all these horrible gutty feelings again. Oh, I laughed when they were talking about Jesus today and it was in here. So I was losing my contact again. I was being taken away again from this beautiful spot I'd been put on. I couldn't hold on to it. It was like holding on to, something slippery. And it was going away from me, and then I started thinking, I'll be okay. And I was getting back into feeling pain again. I'd lost my Cassie. I was feeling lonely, and things were becoming like I was being surrounded by these walls again, and I was losing that connection feeling with everything around me. And I started forgetting the time, I started forgetting the time I was at the beach, and not gone completely because I'm talking about it now, but I was starting to forget the instant memory that I had then of it, and I started going back into hard ways, and And it happened again to me. I got to a point where I cracked up and I broke down. I was in the living room facing that way. I had everything organised differently. And it happened to me again. It was about a month, 6 weeks later. It happened to me again where I cracked up and I was in pain. And I was ready to go off again and commit suicide again. And at this point, I was saying, why can't I feel like I was feeling like that time? That'll save my life. And nothing happened. And I was saying, oh, please help me. And I was saying all the same things as before. Nothing was happening. And I thought, oh, it was just a fluke. Some sort of weird thing happened to me. But I had to obviously progress. I wasn't paying attention to any of the teachings that are given us. I knew 6 weeks before that there was something bigger out there that had saved my life. Something had given me a warm cuddle. Something had told me, I love you no matter what. No matter what you do, you can't do nothing wrong. Something had told me that. And it feels great when you feel that in there. Not when you hear it, that's words. If somebody tells you they love you, when you finally get it over time, when you're living with somebody who loves you, when you finally get it, how good does that feel? That feeling of love. Well, I got that from everything. How lucky was I? But it was going. I didn't know I'd been born again or anything. And I'd still been born again to this point when everything was going south again. But there's this jealous side of nature. In the Bible, we call it Satan. And there was this jealous side of nature. I call him Satan, the devil, but not everybody might do that. So there was this jealous side of nature, not wanting me to succeed. Why is he jealous? Because in the Bible it's written that this thing called the devil was given an opportunity to live with God, and he turned his back and he said, no, I can do this better myself. And he messed it up for himself. And ever since then, he's wanted his next creation, which was mankind, to fail. He don't want us to do any better than him, obviously. He's jealous, he's angry, and we were given something in the Bible. It's called the soul. We were given this gift, and he was never even given. He'd never even been given that. So he was angry, and he's angry now, and he wants us to fail. So when anybody is born again, that should be it. We should be born again, new creatures, new spiritual beings. But we still have this human body around us. We still have all this pain. We still have all this weight. We still have all this agony coming throughout his life. We still lose people. If we're born again, why do all these things still happening? That's still happening because Satan's there. The jealous side of nature wants us to still fail. Being born again should rip all that away, shouldn't it? But we messed up as well. Way, way back. You read about Adam and Eve, haven't you? Let me explain how that happens a little bit better. Us, way back in time, we existed, didn't we? We're here now. So you go back, we existed. In a primal way, we existed. And we were perfect. And the devil hated that. Whatever the devil is, the negative side of the universe. He hated that. And he wanted us to not be perfect. He wanted us to die. He wanted us to be encased in whatever he's encased in. The earth, as it turns out. The devil was plunged into the centre of the spiritual earth, a dark pit somehow. I can't explain that. And it's not nice for him. He's stuck there. In other words, he's as far away from God as he can be, because he put himself there. He's been punished. He sees us, Adam and Eve, the first of our kind. Well, it was Adam originally, wasn't it? Adam started wanting. He asked for a partner. He wanted somebody to love and to care for him while he was on the earth. So God gave him that. How that happened, I don't know. It's written in the Bible in a very basic way, isn't it? A rib. And anyway, but there's got to be some scientific way. But back then there was no science, so it was written in a way for people to understand. Don't forget. Right, so the devil's looking up at us and saying, they're not going to get away with this. I'm going to find a way up there, and I'm going to find a way to interrupt this. They're not going to I'm better than them. I came first. Blah blah blah. A jealous kid, basically. Yeah. So he came up in this snake form, written in the Bible as a snake, whatever that was back then, and he somehow managed to intercept Eve and tantalize her into being tempted for things that she should never have been tempted. The first sin, you know, the apple, whatever the apple was. Like I say, the Bible was written in a way for us to understand as basic humans. It wasn't written with mathematical equations and things. What were all that? You know, nobody understood anything or understood what physics are and anything, did they? They didn't understand what the human cell was or anything back then. It hadn't been discovered. So you have to think about it. So it had to be written in a way that made sense to us. So the apple, whatever that was, led us to destroying our covenant. Is it a covenant? Our connection with God. And obviously, we'd upset God. He wasn't angry. The point he was upset was because, what do you want in your house? If you want a dog, you want the dog to love you. And a dog can show you its love in certain ways, can't it? It waggles its tail, it licks your face, does all that. Or do you go out and buy a stuffed dog? It's exactly the same as the other dog. And you could attach your tongue to it, you could get it to wag its tail with a little machine or motor on the back. You know for a fact that's not going to do it, it's not going to cut it, is it? In other words, it's a robot. God didn't want robots, so he wasn't going to force Adam and Eve to come back to him. So if he did that, he's basically creating robots, isn't he? He was making them love him. He was making them wag their tail, or the equivalent of a dog, you know? So that's what upset God. He didn't lose favour with us. He just wanted us to love him for the sake of loving him. He didn't want to force love onto us. He didn't want to do a magic spell. He didn't want to create love in us. He wanted us to love him for the sake of loving. And we did, but we lost it. We turned away. We've been tempted by this thing, the tree of knowledge and all that, whatever all that is. I don't know what that is, but I understand the core concept behind it. And we lost our way. So that's what we're doing now. We were cursed, in other words. In some cultures they call that cursed, don't they? So we were cursed. The curse won't be broken until we figure out where we went wrong. Yeah? This isn't figuring out where we were wrong, just explaining it. It's got to be known, it's got to be in the heart. And that's where being born again is. When we're born again, we finally asked for God to come back. We said, look, I can't handle this world. I can't handle all the pain that I've created myself. I can't handle it on my own. I need help. I need your love in my life, and I want to love you back so that I can feel the way that I used to way, way back. Anyway, you do that, you get born again, but it doesn't last because the devil is still tempting us out, and we do. We fall again. We fall again from grace, don't we? And this is what had happened to me. 6 weeks later, I'd fallen again. And I couldn't just repeat the same words I said before because I wasn't connecting. I was annoyed. I thought to myself, I'd been saved the other week. Why can't I just say the same again? You know, I was basically being an imperfect human. I was saying, God, just give me a fix again, please. No, he wasn't. Why would he want me to act like I loved him when I obviously didn't? So I broke down again. And I found the right place in my heart to be, and I prayed, and I found a prayer that I could rely on, and I wrote it down. It's on the computer screen whenever I need it. And I prayed. I said the words out loud to myself, and I was desperate, and even more so maybe than the last time at the beach. And then still felt bad, wiped my tears, and still felt bad. I felt sort of weight coming off my shoulders because I cried like we all do, and I had this moment of blankness in between. I think I was having a cup of tea or something, taking a breath. A moment passed, and this reset button again that we have when we all do, this isn't something just to me, that reset moment where you turn your head to something, you forget what you were doing a moment before, and we should still feel the same way as we did the moment before, but I'd reset like you do with a computer again, reset, and you load the new version. Bam, again. I was born again. I was still obviously born again from before. But what had happened was, God had cleared away all that sin from the last 6 weeks again, and revealed to me that feeling again. You know, it was there again. It went on for weeks, this, because I tried to maintain it. So I prayed every day, and I was looking at the screen when this channel was on called by the way, it's called TBN UK, the Bible Network. It saved my life. Obviously, it's not the channel that saved my life. It's what the process behind what's going on with God and whatnot. Anyway, so I was saved again. It was starting to make a bit more sense this time. I wasn't lost in this amazing feeling, thinking, as long as it lasts, I'm happy. I was trying to maintain it. I was trying to cut back on sin. Trying to cut back on sin is like trying to hold your breath. We're going to sin because we're sinful creatures. We're having to live within this imperfect life where we're going to sin. The Pope sins. Everybody sins. But Jesus had given us, in this magical way, come to earth, and he realised he had to pay he had to do something, pay to God a way of clearing our sin forever. Not just the sin from before, not just the sin on that day, the sin forever as well. I don't know if you've heard of the Lamb of God. It's a way it's written in the Bible. The Lamb of God was slaughtered. Jesus was slaughtered to pay. I know it's horrible, isn't it? But he was slaughtered to pay for all our sin. Obviously, it wasn't going to take away, so it never come back, because the devil is still trying. So we're still going to accrue sin. But now we have this thing within us, because of when Jesus was killed, was murdered on that crucifix. He then made a bargain with God that the devil could no longer keep us from heaven as long as we asked for our sin to be taken away. Please forgive me, all that, everything. Please forgive me, and we had to do it with an open heart when we're at the lowest. That's why a lot of people say they don't feel God and whatnot, because maybe they're just not ready. When something really bad happens, we all cry out to something at some point in our lives, even atheists. Why is this happening to me? That sort of thing. And you'll say, oh, it's just something that happens, but why do we do it? Because we have a natural inbuilt ability that we can't put into words. We don't understand with our faulty, cursed mind that deep down inside of us there's this thing that is created for us to get rid of sin now. And we realise that on some level. Even the people will adamantly say, oh, you're just talking at your bottom. No, we've got this thing within us, we can get rid of sin. And in the Bible it's described as the Holy Spirit. What's the Holy Spirit? The Holy Spirit, God? Yeah. How can the Holy Spirit be within us? Because the Holy Spirit is a part of God. God is three things. Like I say, I'm no expert here. God is three parts, and I think he's Jesus, is that right? Yeah? He's the Holy Spirit, and he's God. I think that's the three parts, but I know there is only three to it, and I might have got it all this group there. It's called the Trinity. Now, God's still up there, right? Jesus is a spirit up there, and his body somehow. This is the way the Bible writes it is in a way that sounds strange, but it's something to do with what we're finding out in a modern way. Something to do with his blood, his DNA. I don't know if you've heard of when they go to church and they go for what do they call it, starts with a C, and they get the bread on their mouth, eat the blood of the body of Jesus and all that. It's all symbolic to do with DNA, as we're finding it. We're like halfway there with DNA, aren't we? So we call it DNA now at the moment, but obviously we're going to find out more to do with things like this, and we're going to give it new names and broader knowledge. So when the scientists try and fool you and say, no, DNA was an accident, it just started in a puddle somewhere, how can that be? Complexity of it, and they haven't even scratched the surface. I'd like to say they've scratched the surface, they haven't even done that yet, what's going on. all these complex things didn't just pop out of nowhere. So when somebody argues with me and says there's nothing, it all happened by accident, they're not going back far enough. If you want to argue with them, say to them, let's take a step back then. Keep going back. What happened with that puddle? Why was the puddle there with whatever is in the puddle? And they'll say, the scientists are talking about this thing called RNA, self-multiplying cells. They say that was in the puddle, and that they started multiplying, and somehow started creating DNA and creating cats and dogs and everything. But they won't go back further than RNA. They won't say where that came from. They can't. So they're just sort of like, yeah, alright, that is, yeah, you're stupid talking about gods and things. And they'll say, no, when you say to them what came before an RNA, what came before the spark of whatever created that, they don't know. They haven't even got a theory on it. So they say, oh, they have got a theory on it. Now, hear this one. Multiple universes. Now, there may or there may not be multiple universes. I actually love the idea of there being fantastically amount of universes on one of them, you know. But their theory is to cover the aspect of the RNA, why the cells get. They'll say there's an infinite amount of universes, right? In other words, in one universe, I'm talking on this camera here, right? Now, this is their theory. Hear me out here. I'm not being stupid. You know when somebody goes a bit exaggerating and they get stupid? This, what I'm going to say now, is exactly what this multiple universe thing is about. In one of these universes, I'm sitting here now talking. At the same time, I'm being sick. And there's a bird flying above me with an elephant's head. It's got to happen in a multiple universe theory. To the right of me is Madonna eating ice cream from an old man's belly button. It's all happening. It's all happening, right? In this multiple universe theory. As I'm talking, fire's coming out and the microphone is dancing. Right? The sun's coming in and it's made of jelly. And you're going to say, this is stupid, you're going too stupid. This is their theory, not what I've just said. They're saying that the reason there's life and it's complex is because there's an infinite amount of universes, so that every possible thing has happened. Now, the infinite complexity of DNA and the cells and of every human is so complex that they're saying that randomly there's that many universes, and there isn't a number to them, that just dropping things into a puddle in one of them universes created the complexity of the cells, of the DNA, and so they lose track on that, but they're keeping on going with this idea. That's Stephen Hawking and everything. They're still going with this idea, and it makes people turn away and go where I was years ago. You know, because of the pain of everything that's happened in my life, that everybody has pain, I was able to get to a point where I was going to give up. So I opened up on some level deep inside. I opened up and asked, please help. Anyway, so leading up to the original point I wanted to talk about was about an hour ago or so. Like I say, every day, God is as long as I carry on praying and doing my part towards my spiritual growth, following on from being born again, I need to obviously work on this so that I can't just be born again and then leave it, or the devil carries on piling things on me so that I lose it again. Not lose being born again. I've been born again now. That happens, but it's on some deep level that gets covered with sin, so that we think it's gone. It feels like you do when you're in life and you say, oh, that's typical. I knew it won't last forever. You know, that sort of thing. So every day, if I carry on following my part, praying and believing, which I've got no choice in my heart, I know it's real. Not just because of what I'm telling you now. This is something that's been going on for years. I've been researching and looking for that golden nugget of knowledge, and I found it. Anyway, so I'm doing my bit now every day now. I'm praying, I'm getting further and further into religion. And I'm trying not to lose people that I talk to about it, because a lot of people who will maybe not be at the same stage will just go, well, they think they know. You know, they think they know. And I think I know. I don't know nothing, neither do they. We don't know, and nobody knows anything about what's really going on out there. So, I keep on praying, I keep doing my bit. So now God is fighting for me, with me, inside of me. God is allowing me to get closer and closer to this gift that we were given by Jesus called the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit gives us these new tools to be able to rid ourselves of sin and be born again. And it's a gateway to heaven if I keep doing it. So basically, today, so I've been praying and whatnot, I've been doing my bit, and I don't do it all day. I'm not like it all day. I've got other things I need to do, and but God carries on rewarding me by cracking me open every so often. It might not seem like a reward, cracking me open emotionally by sending me to the pit of despair, and I was at it this morning again. I'd been at it for a few days. Pit of despair, thinking things don't feel right, things are black and white, what's the point? La 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 la, relying on things that give me quick fixes, I have something that I shouldn't have to eat naughty, and it gives me that quick feeling of a buzz, but then obviously I know that afterwards I'm not going to feel so great. And I listened to this girl on the telly, and I'll be honest, I was on the toilet. There was this girl on the telly blaring away, and she was talking, she's some sort of American celebrity singer, and I'm thinking, oh, it's good for you. I was being really, really obnoxious inside my heart, because I was feeling really bad. And she was talking about the abuse she had when she was younger, and I thought, oh yeah, but you've got all your money to rely on, as you do. And she was talking away, and see, God cracked me open today again. I'm listening, and it started relating to me, and I thought, yeah, but you've got all this stardom and everything. And oh, she had a life, this poor girl. She's an American singer, and she was abused by her uncle, and he was told that he was going to kill her if she ever said anything. He was going to kill her sister, and kill this person, and blah, blah, blah. And it turned out he was doing it to other people when she got old enough to actually come out about it. And after she come out with it, she thought she'd be clean, and, as she was told, once you come out with it, the truth will set you free. And she wasn't. Things got worse for her when she come out with it. Not because of him, he'd been locked away. She couldn't be happy. And she would try and go to parties and things to pick herself up with her friends. And she had such a social circle of people around her because she was in her first throes of her career. And she was only young and pretty, and everything was right, and yet she felt like everything was wrong. Nothing was right. And people were actually jealous of this girl. And she would say, they were jealous of me. And in reality, they had nothing to be jealous of. Take it. She was thinking, take it, because I don't feel happy at all. And she wasn't happy. She was putting up a front to her mum and dad that she was passing her grades at school, and she was this pretty young angelic being that nothing, everything was lined up for her. She was starting this career, and the moment they turned her back, she would sort of like let the breath out, and she would be crying non-stop. And she was going to these parties, and every time she'd get drunk, she was screaming and shouting, and nobody liked her. Truthfully, nobody liked her, but they were acting like they did because, she had the money, and she was the stardom, and they wanted to be around her, and it was horrible for her, and she was a mess. She was dying inside, and it was getting worse, and she was going through this process that I go through, and to the point where she did something I haven't done. This one night, she decided to storm out of this party that was going on, because everybody was having a great time, but she wasn't, and they all thought she was just spoiled brat. And she stormed out of this party because she was crying inside. And she got outside, she started pouring with tears and screaming, and people just left her alone because they just didn't want no part of it. They just thought, oh, you're spoiled, look at everything you've got. Anyway, she's running down the street, and she was in a bad place in this state, rough area. And she didn't care. She wanted to be there on the street on her own. She ran down the street. She started screaming to people on the street. Thugs, everything. You can imagine, can't you? In America, nobody was coming across. They were just laughing at her. So she undressed. She got naked. This young girl, she got naked, started screaming, laying on the floor, asking for somebody to kill her. And she started shouting to God, please kill me. Kill me. And she laid on this floor screaming. like some sort of from weirdo terrible point of view, and nobody came across. No idiots came across to rape her or anything, and she just couldn't believe what was happening. She was having a breakdown basically, and she screamed out to God, "If you're there, please help me. I'm dying. I can't leave this spot because I've got no home to go to." She had no home in her heart, you see. She might be able to go home to this flashy place that just didn't mean nothing to her because she was in so much pain. She'd been abused. This is what it does, you see, because it grows inside like some sort of cancer. And so she laid on the floor, totally naked, this young girl in the middle of a thuggish area. Nothing could have happened to her. She wanted it to. She wanted to be gone. In the middle of the night, and she laid on the floor in the middle of the street and rolled onto the road, hoping cars would run her over. Tried her name. I didn't get her name because I could just hear this girl talking. And she was in tears as she was talking about it. And she'd been praying, shouting and praying, saying, if there's a God. And she'd opened up. She'd been cracked open. And as I listened to it, I'd been cracked open again. And I started bawling because it hit me on some sort of level. And as she's talking, I'm thinking, this is me. I feel like I was this girl. She wanted to be run over. She was laying in the middle of the street. She fell asleep in tears in the middle of the road and nobody helped her. Because she was in that type of area, you see. So a lot of people, she must have been some sort of druggie, She just laid there, naked throughout this whole night. Nobody run her over. She woke up to this voice. And I know what she means by voice because I've heard it. And it's not an audible sound. It is almost words when you get to this stage. It's like, we've all had this thoughts of a voice going on when we're at a breakdown point. See, to her, she heard this voice, sort of communication saying, "Enough's enough." And alright, little cat. And enough's enough. And it was telling her, and it meant, get up and go home. Get yourself cleaned up. Go home. Enough's enough. And she felt like, she got up and she'd been there all night, unconscious on this floor, naked. And she got her clothes together and whatever she had left anyway. And she managed to get home. And she came out with what everything had been happening to her family. And somebody came out of the blue. She was talking about somebody came out of the blue. And it was somebody to do with God. And obviously God was working on her. Same principle, same idea that happened to me here. And you see, she never got this born again feeling at this point. And somebody took her to church, and she had nothing to lose. She had nothing to lose, and yet she was the type not to do this. She thought, obviously, she went forward with her career, maybe to be a way out, and all this, nothing was working, it was just getting worse. She went to church, and they put hands on her, and prayed for her and whatnot, and she burst into tears. And cut the story short, she got to being asked to be born again, and she did it the right way. Cracked open again, heart cracked open again, and she let God in. And she was born again, and what she described from that point was what happened to me on that beach. That she felt like she was on a high with love, pure love. And that it never lasted, and that she had to find a way to get this back. And she was doing the same thing as I did. I thought, oh wow, anyway, I started crying. And then straight away, she stopped talking. She finished the story, and some guy came on the telly saying, if that hit you on any level, pray with me. And I realised I was sort of like looking up in my mind to God, saying, yep, you've done it to me again, haven't you? You've let me get so far, so I've cracked open. So I prayed again, and I was praying with this guy, and oh wow, I felt the feeling coming over me again of everything draining away. It's like when you've had that really good cry, when people say to you, have a really good cry, it'll do you good, but it's part of a process. Why does it do us good? They won't explain why it does it good, they'll just say it does you good, and then they'll come up with some sort of scientific experiment about tears and things, but I haven't always cried when this has happened. It's about opening up in here and letting something in to do its work. Anyway, God is cracking me open like this every so often. It's cracking me open. The only way He can make repairs is by seeing what's in there to repair. There's a lot of damage done in there, like we've all got a lot of damage, and it's manifested itself as me, the state I am. But to open up, He has to crack me like a shell, because I'm like a shell. I've got all these barriers. And He cracked this girl, and she's going throughout the life now, and she's feeling a lot better now. She's married and blah, 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 blah. But she's still got problems and things. It's all this process of getting rid of the sin, continually getting rid of the sin, because the devil is constantly piling up things in his life so that we always trip up. We always have that manic moment. We lose some in his life, so we turn away from God again and we say, why would you do this to me? But God can't intervene, which He could. He has the power to. But if He intervened, He'd turn us into drones, and we'd look up to Him and say, we love you because of what you've done and everything. But we'd be doing it because of what He's doing. He'd have created that stuffed dog with the waggly tail. And He wants us to love Him for what He is. And what He is He's amazing, but we have to realise that. We have to go right back to that day when we messed up back as Adam. We have to realise that we've messed up. And we're getting there, and that's when we'll lift the curse. It's all written down when this is going to happen in the Bible. It's amazing. The process happening to me is amazingly similar to what's written about in the Bible, how people find their way back, and it's happening. And it's not easy at all. It's not easy. I'm not privileged or anything. But the journey, finding the way back, is amazing. And apparently someday in the future, when God sees that we've made the effort and we've got back to Him, and we're still living these lives and things and still being tainted by the devil, wherever the devil is, and we're still losing His way, at some point He's going to say, right, I can see that you've learned now. And I'm not like a teacher. You've learned your mistake. No. I can see that you've figured out what you want. You don't want to be like that in pain all the time. And you don't want to be on His side. You want to be back here where we're going to be loved, embraced. And that feeling, I keep feeling, is about that. And when that happens, in the Bible it says that we're going to all be judged and blah, 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 and the devil's going to be kicked out so that he can't carry on making us feel like this. And you know what that means, don't you, when that happens? Whatever that is, when that day happens, that means there'll be no more death. There'll be no more illness. There'll be no more of this. Failings. There'll be no more sin. There'll be no more ability to be sin. We'll be perfect humans. Whatever that is. Whatever Adam was, a sort of a spiritual creature, we'll be back to that again. And we'll be able to stand in any garden with any amount of snakes floating around trying to tempt us. We'll be able to ignore them and say, get out of here. I know what I want now. I made a mistake, and I had to be shown what that mistake was. I haven't been brainwashed into believing one way or the other. I know that the other way is wrong because it doesn't feel nice. I want to be with God. God holds all this beauty and love, and whereas on the other side of it, if I want things like, if I want to design my own life, if I want to do it all myself, without asking for help, and without discarding all the trip-ups I make, if I do that, this is what I have to accept. I have to accept that I'm going to be bogged down in my own mistakes. And it's not God doing that to us, it's ourselves. But like I say, when people say, if there is a God, why does all these bad things happen, like the ISIS and everything? It's not God doing it. God can't take that all away from us, or we'll be back to square one. We'll turn into robots, and we'll go, oh wow, great, we want some more of that. And God will say, no, but you don't love me, you just want what I can give you. I want you to love me, because he's not a person, you see, he's everything. So Whereas you love a person when you love them. To love God is to be in God, not be accepting His gifts. Or we can't be within Him if we don't love Him. Oh, it makes total sense to me, but it's hard to put into words, because how do you put something like into words? Anyway, yeah, so I know I've kept this story going on for a long time, but I'm continually being cracked open, and what I'm seeing now is that every time I feel like I'm going downhill again, it's for a reason. It's for a reason. The devil's trying to get me to fall, which he is, but at some point I've got to use my gift that Jesus gave me. I've got to use it, and I've got to ask for help again. And he comes in and he kicks it all out, because when he died on the cross, he gave us this ability that we can get rid of all the sin. He took it all away then, but we are still accruing it. We're still shoveling it in, and he made this gift so that we can just get rid of it by asking. And somebody might say to you, yeah, but I asked and I never heard anything, because they weren't ready. They didn't truly need it. They weren't at that point. They hadn't cracked open. If you're in a point in your life, a lot of young'uns will say, I don't need anything like that. I don't believe in it, because I haven't needed it. And when you get to that, we've all been there, the ones who are like above 30, when we were younger, we found ways of sustaining ourselves. All that weighs us down eventually. If it's computer games or something, you play computer games and you think, oh, I'm alright, kind of doing that. I'll eventually get so good I can join this team and be like this world star thing. And you might get all these dreams come true. You might even get more than you ever thought imagined. But then you look at it and you think, I don't feel any better than I did before all this. I don't feel it. What is it about being rich that I thought would make me happy? Because when you think about being rich, the devil's made it that all these gifts make you think that you don't need any such thing as to believe in a God or anything. Because you can make this amazing life around yourself. You can get all these qualifications, or you can know the right person within a business, and you can work your way up, and you can, if you're pretty, you can find a perfect partner, and all these things that don't mean anything. When you read the stories of the people who got what they wanted, you'll always hear that person saying, I got where I wanted and I realised I didn't feel the feeling that I thought I would feel. When they won the X Factor, the people, they so want it right that moment before they get it. And when they get it, they're going, I felt numb. I don't think it's hit me yet. And then a week later, they're going, how does it feel that you won the X Factor? And they go, yeah, it's great. I'm really looking forward to this. And but I'm tired. And you're thinking, but this, before they got it, they're like, it's all I ever wanted in life was this. It's all I ever wanted to be. My whole life I've just wanted to, when they get it, they're like, oh, it's great, it is great, I'm tired, can't I just have a little bit of sleep? And where was that energy that kept on going before it? Because something that you haven't got always seems more appealing until you get it. That's not an accident. This is all part of the thing, you see. The devil makes things seem appealing more so that it keeps us having to look for what really matters in life. And the devil hopes that these things will carry on working for us right to the end, so that we would never have to ask for any extra help. But luckily, we run out of things that work. The drugs stop working. The businessman starts getting sick of the money doesn't mean anything anymore eventually. He's hurting because he can't seem to keep a relationship down, or whatever he's doing wrong, and all this pain's building up, all this sin's building up, and the money doesn't do anything anymore. He could go out and buy 10 bottles of wine and a new Ferrari and go home, and he still feels this pain, or all this built up pain, and he's wondering where it's coming from. It's right in front of him. He's doing things, everyday sin that weighs his soul down. When you weigh the soul down, it starts going into a dark place, into a dark feeling, into a sort of it's a feeling, isn't it? You start getting, we call it depression, we call it anxiety, we call it nerves, we call it panic attacks, we call it grief, why I'm going through the court, all these things. And we don't have to have any of it. We were given this gift where all we have to do is ask and mean it for help. But to mean it, you have to be at a certain place in his heart. I'm at this place in my heart more times than anything because I'm going through grief, obviously. And the grief lines me up quicker on the road to be able to crack open. God cracks me open. It's about and it's getting further and further away now because I'm doing my bit. I'm praying more, which is sustaining me longer. And the grief still builds up, the pain still builds up, the sin still builds up. And I've noticed that at first it was like every few weeks, and now it's like about every 2 months or something. But when it builds up, it feels just as strong. The pain, feels just as bad as it did right back. Builds up, and I blurt out, and people will say, oh yeah, you need to let it out. And yeah, you do need to let it out, but it's also this process. If you don't want to let it back in, you've got to work. What is it you've got to do? Look into your heart. You know what you've got to do. You know what you've got to do. We have this ability, like I say, we have this ability to get rid of all that pain. And it's not just a natural ability that the scientists say. You need to ask for this help within you. If you've heard anything I've said, if you take anything from what I've said, please take this, that you don't have to be in pain. If you find the right answer in yourself, I'm not going to be right for everybody listening to this. It's just right for me, I suppose. I know it sounds selfish, but I can't force everybody to believe me. But what I can ask is, if you take one thing from this, inside yourself, you don't have to admit to people that you're getting religious, but inside yourself, just say, if there is anything going on out there in this universe, when you're at your lowest, of course, when something's gone wrong in your life, he doesn't mind. He's not going to say, oh, right, you need me now then. No, it's not like that. That's a human problem. God's there the whole time. He's waiting over your shoulder. He's waiting, or wherever he is around us. Me personally, I think he's like this around us, but we go, nice, I don't need it. We push away. And the more we push away, and the more boring the things that we use to sustain ourselves, whatever it may be, drink, drugs, stardom, youth, enjoying the people, enjoying you, it stops working. It stops having its shine. We all know that. Things stop having the shine. So when that happens, and you've got this problem that you can no longer fix with whatever it is you were using, say to yourself in a quiet place, if you're ashamed of saying it, don't worry, God's not going to say, oh, you're ashamed of me. He's not going to say that. He wants you to crack open. He wants to see the real you. And even if you try and hide your embarrassment, your disgust, God will see anyway. So don't worry about it. Just be open. Just lay it all raw. Just be open. Don't do it in a public place if you don't want to. Just lay it out somewhere. If you lay it out, a natural ability to do the right thing will start coming. I mean, basically being guided. But at first it might feel like a coincidence happened and this happened and all these little magical things happened so you could unload all this pain. At some point in his life, we all feel depression, unhappiness, down. We all feel it. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? If money really is the answer to all people's problems, there's people out there with money that doesn't have a limit. These oil barons and everything, and the things they get up to. Wow. The material things that they can buy. They think nothing of buying a house and there's a mansion and these cars, the millions of dollar cars and all that, but it doesn't make them happy. You hear of them. I was a prince of something, an Arab prince, the son of somebody who was an oil bloke, and rented out a place, this giant mansion. He'd rented it. He hadn't bought it. It was like this obviously it's a place that the owner was going to get more money on the renting thing. You know, it was like multiple rooms and everything. And he'd been arrested into this week or so we'd rented it for. He'd been arrested for thinking he could torture this woman who was working for him. Obviously, he wanted to have sex with her, and she didn't want to have sex with him. And he'd been torturing her. She was covered in blood when they found what was going on. She was screaming, and he'd been trying to do oral sex to her and things like that. And he was screaming when he got caught, and he was suicidal. Prince Abijabba or something, I don't know, some sort of Prince of the Oil bloke. Google it. And he tried to rape this girl, and obviously he was only a young fella as well. He wasn't an old fella or anything. But he's got all the money in the world, access to these resources for self gratification, and yet he had to do that because obviously she wouldn't give him what he wanted. Money couldn't buy her free will. Same thing with God, isn't it? When you think about it, he can't force us, because if he forced us, he could. He has the ability. But if he forces us, he takes away our free will. If he takes away our free will, we become automatons. We'd become like that girl if she just laid down on the ground unnaturally. The bloke wouldn't enjoy that. He wanted her to struggle or actually preferably like it. She wouldn't. She didn't fancy him, obviously. All the money in the world wouldn't make. He obviously thought, because he was young and everything, that there's a number on free will. There's a number you can place on it. He'd probably tried to buy her as well. She wasn't having it though. So he tortured her. He apparently locked her up and been hitting her and things to try and just get her to be what he wanted her to be, and do what he wanted her to do. And she hadn't. So all the money in the world never made him happy. He wasn't able to turn away from her and say, I'm on a higher plane of happiness here. I've got all the money in the world, so I do not need sex. I do not need to force a girl under my employment to do that. You know, I can just turn around and look at the number on my bank account and think, let's multiply that, let's triple that, let's go out and buy 10 cars. It stopped working for him at some point. At some point, he wouldn't be able to distract himself from all that. But he's on that journey, probably faster than most people, even though he's got a lot of money, because he was running out of ideas and he needed to find things that he couldn't have. So he'd probably be in prison and he'll probably be praying. Why would he need to pray if money's the answer to all happiness? You know? Do you see where I'm coming from? We're not designed to be able to make happiness for ourselves, although the devil is constant. The devil loves people like that, by the way, because he's able to have a great time watching them. You know, when they reach rock bottom, it's explosive because they've got nowhere to go. They really haven't. They've got no, you know, us that haven't got everything in the world. We've always got them options. We think we've got options, but when they've done it all and they've got lots of people looking at them and thinking, I want to be like that person, the last thing they want to do is have a breakdown. You know, Heath Ledger, the Batman guy, committed suicide by taking an overdose, didn't he? And yet he was at the beginning of this bright future. He'd obviously seen how bright it really was. It's not bright at all. It's nothing. It was going to be nothing. He was just going to have lots of money. He's going to be well known. And it wasn't enough for him. He committed suicide. The other guy from Hunger Games, the chubby bloke with the one type of, like the Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, his haircut. He was a brilliant actor and he committed suicide in Hunger Games 2 or 3. You know, the guy who was in charge of the computers, doing all the all the magic within the not the CGI of the film. I mean, all the mechanisms chasing them, and you know the dogs in number 2 or number 1 Hunger Games and all. He was in charge of all that. Donald Sutherland was telling him to do all this to kill everybody, but he had you know. And anyway, he committed suicide in real life. Who else? what's him that sung Feed the World? Feed the World. Bob Geldof. His daughter committed suicide, didn't she? She was on drugs and blah blah blah. She took too many and she's gone. I don't know if it was suicide, but it was an overdose. But I remember them saying that people before saying how much of a sad state she was. You know, and the people are dropping down dead, aren't they, all the time? And they've got all these things that we're led to believe because we've turned ourselves away from God. As a nation, a lot of us turn ourselves away from God. We're led to believe these things are put right in front of us by the devil. The devil gets right in front and says, look at this. Rolex, cars, possibility, space, women, or if you're a woman, men, and all these things. That's what life's about. And you're not going to argue with him because nobody's tried to help you. All these things are there from a young age. So you think, I'll go this route. It's obvious that I'm going to be happy if I do that. You know, it's when you get to the point as a rich person, when you get to that point where you truly realise it's all been a lie. There is no happiness at the end of the rainbow. I only seemed it before I had it. But when I actually got it, happiness just went like a fleeting memory. Why am I not happy constantly like I thought I would be? They've still got all these problems still there. You know, the mortality, worrying about death can never be replaced with money. And, you know, all them things, you know, and they end up, a lot of them can't take it. A lot of them can't handle that. And they go, don't they? They take off. Rather than letting the process happen, they get to rock bottom, they should crack open. And if somebody was there at the right moment and they listened, they would have opened up and asked for help. But then they would have had to face the truth that they're just no better than any of us. That oil, the guy with all the money, the son of the oil bloke, Prince, he would have had to realise he's no better than his servant that he was attacking. It's too much for him to handle. I don't think he'll survive. If I follow this video up, I'll get his name. He was on the Daily Mail. There you are. Give me 2 seconds. Daily Mail. Prince attacks. I can't think of what to call that. London attack victim Travis Frame meets Prince Channel. Pro-Wobber. Whip attack. No, it's all about Prince Charles and everything, isn't it? No, this was like with these Iraqi blokes or something. Arab Prince attacks girl. What page Prince on that? Right. See, there's another one here. Fashion model claims that Saudi prince raped her on yacht. He's on his yacht. You know, he could have any girl he wanted. That's what it seemed like before he got it, didn't it? Saudi millionaire, something cleared of raping teen. Man stalk. Is that it? Oh, Saudi. Of course he's been cleared. This is the guy. He's got all of this. Okay, I don't know if you can see on the screen. Wow. Bloated billionaire, obviously. Saudi millionaire has been cleared of raping a teenager after claiming he might have accidentally penetrated the 18-year-old when he tripped on. You're kidding me? You hear that? A Saudi millionaire has been cleared of raping a teenager after claiming he might have accidentally penetrated the 18-year-old when he tripped and fell. And they bought that, obviously, because he's been dishing out the money, hasn't he? property developer Abdul 46 was accused of forcing himself on the young woman as she slept off a night of drinking on the sofa. You know, he's a millionaire. He's having to get his gratification by getting with somebody who's asleep. In his plush flat in Maidvale, West London, he had already had sex with her 24-year-old friend. I suppose he fell on her as well, and said he might have fallen on top of the teenager while his penis was poking out of the top of his. Come on. Oh, so he's a moralistic human being. He never thought about jumping on her when she was asleep. Okay, mate. And they've let him go. The woman met Mr. Abz in the exclusive, I can't pronounce that, Circle Sour nightclub in the West End of London. I could go on with this, but you can get the point. There's no point in explaining it, is there? Yeah, that's not the one I'm looking for, obviously, but that does the job, doesn't it? But he's got away with it because of all the money, because what he's got, people want, and what people want is more powerful than what people have already got. You see what I mean? He's bribed somebody, somebody's paid this person, paid that person, and they've got what they always wanted, so they'll give him what he wants. If that does it for them, that's great. But anyway, thank you for listening. I wanted to talk about that. God today cracking me opening me up so he can do some more work. He's doing this work on me every day because it's not an easy process. He's having to get it. He can't just magic away the pain. I would be like an empty vessel. What's going to have to be? I have to grow to replace the pain. So the pain has made me like this. Physically, I'm bloated and huge and fat, right? So if you rip all that pain away, how would I be able to cope looking like this and be happy at the same time? No, obviously it needs to be done like surgery, and that's what it's happening. It's really, really amazing. A really amazing process. I'm continually being opened up at the right moment, when I need it, when I ask for it, because like I say, I have to open up to be repaired. And I'm doing this because I've been born again. This never used to happen before, until I was born again. Before that, things never used to get better like they do now, when I used to have a turbulent time in my life. We all have crack-ups, but I never used to get this overwhelming feeling of everything being taken away. When when I split up from a relationship when I was younger, my first love, that was painful. Really painful. We all know what it's like, don't we? It was so painful that I had this physiological thing down the left-hand side of my face, with this red blotchy thing all down the left, and I thought I'd had some sort of infection, and I was just crying all the time because I split up from my first love at the time. I went to the doctors thinking he was going to say something about cream or something. He told me, he says, you're manifesting a trauma. It's too much for your body to handle. It's manifesting. It will go. You're in shock. I was in shock. All these weird things were happening that my body couldn't handle, like a sort of like a wasp sting type thing going on. But the effect of the trauma had been the sting. I've never had that ever again in my life. It was like almost a perfect line down my left hand side. And maybe the right hand side of the brain is, I know it's right left on there, it's mirrored weird on the camera, but maybe the right hand side of the brain sends pain to the opposite side, and that's what had happened. It was weird. It was like almost a line right down here. All left hand side went red, and I couldn't go out or anything. So, but I cracked up with that. Obviously, a few times over years, over about a year, I was in a lot of pain with that. But I never had that rejuvenating feeling because I never asked for help. Back then, I wasn't ready. I still totally disbelieved. I do remember I had my moments where I would ask for help in a way, but not properly. The crying allowed me to unload some of it, but not all of it. I learned new ways of dealing with things, new ways of getting out of it, new tricks, and it never made me happy. What made me happy, and it's making me happy now, is after I was reborn again on that time at the beach. You wouldn't believe the feeling I had, and it's now because that change has happened deep inside. When I get to a cracking point, things are different than before. I'm able to unload and just restart. It's, like I said, that pause I have a pause that we all have. We all have these pauses, don't we? And things might not be much different from the moment before. When I have that pause after I've had a break, the pause is 9 times out of 10 followed by this rebirth feeling. Like I say, I've only been born again once. We're only born again once. But because I've been born again, when I'm refreshed myself, I'm taken back to that Holy Spirit feeling embraced in love, and oh wow, amazing, amazing. Anybody who wants a high, anybody out there who's saying they're druggies and things and they can't find anything to give them a high, try that. It's not something you just try, it's something that happens. It's anyway. I'm gonna blab on all day, but thank you for watching. How long have we been on this? I don't know where the time is. 1 hour 40. You're kidding me. I'm gonna go to the shop. Right. Thank you everybody for watching. I love you all. Anybody who watches this, I'm gonna give it an appropriate title. And thank you. That's all I can say. Bye. I'll catch you in the next video. Like Jacksepticeye says, but I'm not going to shout like him. I'm not going to say the next video like that. So right. Bye. Thank you.